are you sweating? You have a fever. Did you bring me anything to eat? And I thought it was really, really humorous because I could totally see me going off on somebody like that, just bouncing back and forth. Boop, 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 boop.
Yeah, and I mean, it does say that Zedd is always hungry, so of course it ends on food.
And he's a skinny dude. We didn't really mention this, but it does go into a lot of detail when we first see him naked, that he is like skin and bones, despite always being hungry. And that he's got like a long, saggy butt.
Yeah, saggy butt. A bony, saggy butt.
Right. So the food obviously isn't going anywhere. It's not helping that.
So Richard finally tells Zedd that he needs his help and he needs to listen, to which Zedd replies that he always does.
Which is actually a little bit funny because you haven't, though, like, this whole time since I've been here.
Right. You've been doing the opposite, dude. Pay the hell attention. So Zedd checks out his bite and, looks him over a little bit, does a little bit of woo, and then tells Richard that, yeah, in a few hours he'll probably black out. And then he goes, oh, hey, who's your girlfriend? Dude. So Zedd introduces himself. Zedekus Zul Zorander. And he kisses her hand, like the gentleman he is. Then he looks into her eyes, and his mood changes immediately.
Yeah. He freaks right out, asks why Richard's with this creature, if she's touched him, and if he knows what she is.
And Richard says, yeah, she's my friend, and she's saved me 2 times already. And now we're in trouble, and we need your help. Again, reiterating, dude, you haven't been listening this whole time.
I also do think it's funny that immediately when Zedd asked him if she touched him, Richard starts going through all the times that she touched him so far, and then he's like, wait, no. She's my friend, okay? It doesn't matter.
Richard goes on to tell Zedd that they were attacked by a quad yesterday, and while looking into his friend's eyes, he sees hatred and then empathy. And I think that would be a hint. Zedd knows what this quad is. He knows what Kaelin is. We don't even know exactly. Well, I mean, we do because of what Shar said to Kaelin. But Richard doesn't. And we don't really know what being the Mother Confessor is.
Yeah.
But Zedd obviously has a clue.
Yeah. And he's terrified of her, obviously.
And he feels bad that she was being followed by a quad.
His demeanor changes again right away.
Yeah. And so, in that mood change, he gives Kaelin a hug, and he tells her it's all right, dear one. He calls her dear one. And that's a very special thing. That's kind of a through line in all the books.
Yeah.
And then tells her that it's okay, and she's safe here. Which is what she's been wanting to hear this entire book so far.
Yeah. And she cries into his robes a little bit, and it's a nice little moment where she actually does let her guard down for this old man.
Yeah, and I kind of got a kick out of this moment because while she is having this kind of breakdown moment, she mentions that she's never heard a name like his before, and he comes back with, can she cook? Can she make food, dude?
And he does get like a smile of satisfaction too when she says that, and he's like, of course you haven't heard a name like that.
Right. Wink, wink.
But yeah, then he's like, can you cook? And she says, if you help Richard's fever, I will make you a giant-ass pot of spice soup. And Zedd's like, well, good, because I haven't had a good home-cooked meal in forever, and Richard, he sucks at making spice soup.
You know, I kind of feel for Richard there. I'm not much of a cook myself. But, you know what I can do? Drink beer.
Is it time for a beer break, baby?
I do believe it is.
Yeah.
This week, I'm actually not drinking beer, though.
What?
I know, right? Jade and I went to Peter's. It's kind of a gourmet market store where they have kind of the best of everything. And we found this raspberry hard cider from Ridge. Well, it just says the Ridge. I don't know if it's the Ridge Brewing Company or what, but it's Ridge. There it is with the mitten. And it's made with fresh raspberries. And I am a sucker when it comes to raspberries. They are my absolute favorite. So I popped this thing open, took a swallow, and holy shit, guys. This stuff is Good. The can says the ridge is one of the prime fruit growing regions of the world. One of our nation's top producing areas for apples. A fruit belt ranging in higher elevations along Lake Michigan. This is where our hard ciders are grown and squeezed. And it's a 2 out of 5 for sweetness. So it's a little bit dry. It is kind of tart, but that raspberry flavor cuts right through and it is damn good.
Yeah, I think that they're a cidery maybe. I think that we've seen them when we head up north for our tubing trips.
You know what? I think you're right. They are located in Grant, Michigan. So that's right where we go.
Yes, I have seen it.
Yep.
So if you guys can get your hands on that, be sure to do that. It is definitely not something you want to miss. Michigan is tops with their fruit growing.
I just noticed that the design on it is a topographical map.
Oh, shit.
It's elevations, probably of the area. That's really cool.
But yeah, that's a really good one. I want to get another one now.
I think we should. And we'll do that, and we'll be back right after this.
And we're back.
All right, so Zedd is being super chill about Richard's bite, and that's kind of freaking Richard out. It says that Zedd has a way about him to where he'll stay calm in a situation where everybody else is panicking just so he doesn't panic the other person. You know, he's kind of the voice of reason and make sure everybody stays nice and chill so they can sit and think about what to do. And so Richard understands that his friend is showing him the calm face, but that means the situation is probably dire.
Yeah, he's probably way more worried about it than he's letting on.
Right. And I like that Richard knows his friend well enough to know that he's staying calm for my benefit.
Right. And he knew him well enough to know that mentioning the quad, because Zedd came from the Midlands, would probably get his sympathy. But the two of them, Zedd and Kaylin, became way closer, way faster than he thought they were going to after that was mentioned. So he's a little bit like, oh, okay, that worked better than I thought. So they're walking back to the picnic table, and Richard touches the tooth around his neck. And it says he worried about what he now knew. And this threw me off when I was reading because I didn't know what he was talking about.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not really sure what that meant either.
I didn't know if he was worried about him getting sicker than he thought he was going to from the thorn bite, or if it was alluding to like other things we don't know yet. So if anybody out there that's listening knows exactly what was being talked about here, feel free to let us know. Send us an email, go on the Facebook page, because I was just a little bit lost when that was mentioned. They finally get to the picnic table. They sit down with some apple juice. They got carrots and berries and cheese, a nice little spread. And Richard gets to drink some thick brown drink.
He gets, the drank. He gets some Woods medicine. Who knows what the hell that is.
It is interesting that Zedd gives them apple juice, though, considering that Kaylin thought that that's poison just a minute ago.
Oh, right.
I mean, obviously she wouldn't know that it was made out of the red fruit, but it's funny to me. Also berries. The berries are probably also red, but they don't specify, so there's no way for us to know. Zedd turns to Richard and says, "Tell me of the trouble," and he does. He fills him in on everything that's happened since 2 days ago.
This is one thing that I liked about this scene. It shows that Zedd and Richard are close. Because even when he was talking with Chase, he was like, look, we murdered some dudes. He was brutally honest with Chase about everything that had happened. And here he does the same thing. The only thing that he kind of leaves out is the history of the three lands, but that's not really pertinent to his troubles right now. But he's brutally honest with Zedd about everything that's going on, and I can appreciate that. Richard does have people that he's close with. These are the people he goes to for help, and they are there and willing to help him.
And it does mention that he makes sure not to leave out any details because he knows that Zedd wants to know every little piece.
Right. A lot of times you'll see something like that in like a police investigation. They want to know every single detail because even the smallest little thing might really make a difference. And so Richard is extremely thorough. And I like that Zedd likes that Richard tells him that way. because it means he is paying attention to every little thing. He is trying his best to figure it out.
Right. He wants to help him, and the best way for him to do that is to know everything.
Right.
And the whole reason that Richard decides not to tell Zedd about the lands and Darkin taking over is because he thinks it's better for Caitlin to take care of that.
In which he's totally able to do.
Right. In the end of Richard's little download, Zedd wants to know why the fuck he was in the upper vent in the first place. Because again, you don't need to be up there just fucking around. And then Richard's like, well, I found the snake vine. Actually, it doesn't say snake vine. Do we know it's a snake vine? We've been calling it the snake vine for the last couple chapters, right? That's how it was referred to us.
I think in the description of this vine, he said it was almost snake-like.
Okay.
I don't think that we actually get the name snake vine until right now.
Okay.
So, sorry, we jumped ahead without really trying to, but it is what it is. It's a snake vine.
Yeah. And Richard says he found that and he was looking for it. And Zedd wants to know what it looks like. Richard pulls it out of his pocket and he's like, it looks like this. And Zedd immediately recognizes it. He says bags. It's a snake vine. And I was just not really sure if he's worried because now he knows what bit Richard and what could happen to Richard, or if he knows a little bit more than what we know about the snake vine, because Richard apparently does after he hears the name of the vine.
Yeah, he's heard the name of the vine one other place, and it's a place that's related to his secret. Ooh.
The secret book.
Right. He's heard the name of the snake vine through the secret book, the book that his dad had him memorize. He's committed this whole thing to memory. Right.
Now, Zedd's first thing he says is that the good thing is that he knows the route that can help Richard, but he's got to find it first, which doesn't really sound like good news to me. Let's be real.
Right. Oh, I've got just the thing. It's just somewhere in the woods.
Oh, and also, like, you only have a limited amount of time, and we've already used up a lot of that limited time just hanging out and chit-chatting, so, yeah, you'll be fine.
It's like, you can almost picture Zedd saying, well, why didn't you tell me this sooner? It's like, well, I was going to, but you were hanging out with your wang out on your rock. Well, I was trying to clothe you, and you're being a crazy son of a bitch. And now I finally have your attention. It's taken a minute, bud.
Yeah.
Let's get it done.
You made sure to get out the spread of food first because you wanted to fucking eat.
Right.
At this point, and this is what's even funnier to me, is that Zedd, he's like, you only have a couple hours before you pass out. Then they take all this time to, like, talk about it. And he's like, oh, yeah, I can help you. I gotta go find that thing first. So, Kaylin, tell me about your troubles. Make it quick, but, like, let's hear. Instead of going to look for it immediately, he's like, we have time. We can talk. Then Kaylin doesn't actually tell him what she told Richard.
No, she gives some extra details to Zedd that she hadn't mentioned before.
Right. She's very short and sweet about it, and only says one sentence, pretty much.
That's right. She tells him, Darkin, son of Panis, has put the boxes of Orden in play, and she has come searching for the Great Wizard. Now, two things. One, Kaylin could have saved a lot of time had she told this to Richard in the first place.
Yeah.
Right? He wouldn't have had to do the whole guessing thing. It wouldn't have got them to Zedd any faster, but Richard would have had more information right away.
It may have put a little pep in his step.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Now that you mention that, absolutely. Scare the shit out of him. Let's move. And the other thing is, you guys, every time I see Panis in the notes without Rawl behind it, I am tempted as hell to say penis. It's going to happen. I just said penis twice. So it's going to slip. I'll probably leave this in.
Because we aren't really that mature.
No, we're not. Every time I see it, I'm like, don't say it. Don't say it. Penis Rawl. Damn it. Shit. But you know, Richard is stunned. It finally comes to him that from the secret book, the book of counted shadows that his father had him memorize, before they destroyed it, the line jumped at him. And when the 3 boxes of Orden are put into play, the snake vine will grow. So he has known what this thing is the whole time without realizing it.
Yeah. If he had had the snake vine or the phrase boxes of Orden told to him at any point before this,